The Pennsic War ended about a month ago, and I decided to do a video on my reflection of being part of the A&S War Team. A&S is Arts and Sciences, and I was an alternate for the non-Laurels for the Mid-Realm, which is the Middle Kingdom. If you've not been to my channel before, hello, my name is Lynn, and welcome to my channel. So I had been invited to be part of the A&S War Team as an alternate. I have never been part of the A&S. I have done the Populous A&S display at Pennsic War, but I had never been part of the A&S War Team before for possibly getting war points at Pennsic. And so I was super excited and very appreciative of having this opportunity. That said, I have a lot of good experiences and also not bad experiences, but definitely unique experiences with this. And so first, I have been part of the SCA since I was a teenager, and with that, I've been doing blackwork embroidery since I was 16, and I have, in recent years, dove really deep into Holbein Stitch as far as, because blackwork, there are two forms of blackwork. There is the swirly floral kind, which is iconic of the later 16th century in England, and then there's the earlier kind, which is a counted stitch. It's a double running stitch, also known as Holbein Stitch. The rabbit hole that I've gone down recently is actually studying more and more about Hans Holbein the Younger, looking at his different portraits, recreating patterns from his different portraits, because at this time between 1500 and 1550, other artists were painting maybe one or two portraits with blackwork in it, and so far I have found 31 either paintings or at least drawings of his that had blackwork in it. And so that has been my rabbit hole recently, and that was my inspiration for my project, which I got to enter into the Kingdom Arts and Sciences Fair earlier this year and then take to Pennsic with me. And my project was I made a pair of detachable cups. With these cups, I used 3 different Holbein patterns, combined them into one pattern, and embroidered it onto my cups. And as it was, it took about 40 hours per cup, so that was 80 hours total for embroidery on 2 cups. Some of my experiences, let's see, I will try to describe let me go back a bit. Before the pandemic, the Mid-Realm had one type of criteria or rubric for their judging for arts and sciences. And then after about 2022, then the criteria changed, and I guess I still like the old version. That's just me. In the old version, there were, I believe it was 5 different categories, but then there were subcategories within a category. And for example, I was Division 2, which was textiles, and I would specifically do counted embroidery. And so if I did an arts and sciences project in the subcategory, my entry would be judged specifically on the embroidery itself and nothing else. I actually have an old judging sheet here to give you an idea. This is from April of 2016. And with that, I would have been judged on documentation, methods and materials. Under scope, I would have been judged for motif, design, variety, difficulty, stitches and technique, charting, size and density, and authenticity of technique. Then I would have been judged for skill, which included accuracy in design, neatness, tension, and uniformity, followed by being judged for creativity and judge's observation. And from that, you could, depending on the category, or like under documentation, you could receive a score between 0 to 4, but then under judge's observation, you could be judged from 0 to 6, depending on how the judge felt. And with being judged for the design, the motif, the stitches, the accuracy, you were being judged specifically on the embroidery, not the item that the embroidery was on per se. I mean, you would want it on something that was reflective of a historical document, such as cuffs or maybe a partlet. If you had it still on the embroidery frame, you could still be judged for the embroidery, but the gist is you would have been judged for the embroidery itself and not the whole, like, for example, if I put the cuffs with a whole outfit, may not have been judged for the whole outfit. I would have been judged for the embroidery on the cuffs. And that's what I do my embroidery for. And when I enter arts and sciences projects in A&S fairs like this, that's what I guess I'm used to, is being judged specifically for the embroidery. And for the Pennsic A&S War Point, it was a completely different rubric. Even the mid-realm has changed the rubric from, like I said, this paper is from 2016. The mid-realm now, this one's from earlier this year, from 2024. Now it's just supporting evidence, ingenuity, complexity, methods, materials, and execution. That is for the mid-realm. And then for Pennsic, you have methods, materials, historicity, sorry if I mispronounced that one, scope and workmanship, and research and supporting evidence. So different criteria for the Pennsic A&S War Point compared to doing the Kingdom A&S Fair for the mid-realm. And even with that, I guess I'm still used to doing the old criteria where I could be judged specifically on the blackwork. And even with that, I have found that over the years, it just depends on who your judge is as far as how you would be judged. What I mean by that is, for example, one year I did, let's see, yeah, it's the one year I did cuffs, another pair of cuffs, and I had did the exact same pattern from what was in the portrait and charted it and then recreated that pattern, you know, stitch by stitch. It was the exact same thing. And so I did get high marks in certain areas, but lower marks in other areas. So like I may have gotten a high score in scope, but a lower score in creativity because I was more or less recreating someone else's work. However, then if you then get creative and take a little bit of this pattern and a little bit of that pattern and smush it together, then maybe you might not receive as many. You might get higher marks in creativity, but maybe lower in scope or something, just because, well, even though you use this pattern and that pattern, how would I know that those two patterns would have been used together in history? Do you see why I'm saying that? Regardless of who the judge was, that no matter what, you can never make any of the judges all happy. At least that's my experience, because what one person might really like, another person might be a little more judgy about, just because, well, maybe you weren't creative enough in one area, but then, well, how do you know that this actually existed in history? And even if you can show like this was here and that was there, then maybe I feel like I'm sort of getting on a soapbox. So sorry, I'm trying to go through this video without editing it. And anyway, so the old criteria sheet, yes, you were judged on design, stitches, technique, tension, neatness, and for my experience with the Pennsic A&S War Point, most of that was not judged. For the most part, it was my cuffs as a whole that were judged. Not like the embroidery was a little part of it, but it felt like the judges looked at more of the cuffs as a whole. And even with that, like one of the judges, because one of the things that we're told, because I'm also, I do judging in the A&S area as well, and one of the things we're told is beforehand at the judges and entrance meeting that if, say, a person says that they can't afford a certain thing and they have documentation to explain what that thing was and what they did to kind of compensate for not being able to afford that one thing. Or it could also be that maybe it wasn't that they couldn't afford it, but maybe that thing no longer exists, or maybe that thing was poisonous, so then they substituted this thing for that thing, and you shouldn't dock points for that. Well, as it was, we're a family of 6, we have 4 kids, and linen can get quite expensive, and I even had a display board to show different types of linen, as well as from different stores, as well as different types of linen from different museum examples. And so I showed that and everything, but in the end I went with the cheap option. I found linen on sale. I think I had a coupon code for it, and so I used what I could afford, and I explained that, but I showed here's what would have been used in period. And even with that, I still had a judge dock me points on not using a particular thread count with my linen. As it was, I had a lot of fun doing blackwork embroidery at Pennsic. I participated in the Craftsperson's Fair at Mid-Realm Royal. I participated in the Populist display on Sunday of War Week, and then I also got to do the A&S War Point on Thursday of War Week. And aside from my experience with the judging, and my judges were very nice, so please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. They were very nice, very friendly. I enjoyed talking with them. I guess I'm just used to the old criteria, not the new criteria. Or also it could be that maybe the new criteria, because your choices are performing arts, research, made object, and my item was under made object, and then the other is food and drink. And so between just having those 4 options, I was put under made object. So for that, I understand where my judges were judging me more on the cuffs itself and not the embroidery. So I wish that maybe there was an extra category to kind of catch everyone else that maybe don't fit in those 4 categories. For example, if I had silkworms and I made silk or silk thread, and that's my research and I show how to do it, but then I did something with the silk thread. Maybe I did blackwork embroidery with the silk thread, and then I'm being judged on the embroidery rather than the silk thread that I made. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here, that just simply either my embroidery doesn't fit well in the made object category, or maybe there should be a new category made for those who may not fit in made object, performing arts, food and drink, or research. Either that or maybe I should have been under research. But I digress. But other than that, I had a lot of fun getting to geek out with people who visited either me on Thursday at the War Point, or those who stopped by at the Populist display, or those at the Craftsperson's Fair. I enjoyed just getting to sit for an entire day with my blackwork, working on embroidery, getting to geek out and show people, here are projects I've done, here is my research, and any questions that they had, I was happy to answer. I had some that recognized my voice. Particularly, there was one king from another kingdom who, when talking with him, he asked me for if I had a business card, which I didn't, but then I had a QR code to my YouTube channel, and he's like, that's where I knew your voice from, and it turns out he's a subscriber, so hello. I got to enjoy a conversation with a Laurel from another kingdom who, she actually was laureled for the counted stitch for blackwork embroidery that I do, and so I enjoyed the conversation with her, and just so many other people, and so that I got to enjoy conversations with and stuff. And so I just, if anything, if you're still watching this video and you're thinking about joining the A&S War Point or applying for that, or if you are interested in trying to do an arts and sciences competition rather than maybe a craftsperson's fair, I think there are pros and cons to each thing. For example, the Craftsperson's Fair, you can just show your stuff and people can politely walk by, smile, see what you're doing, maybe learn a thing or two, smile and go about their way. Or you might be able to educate someone a little bit on something, but mostly you just get smiles and a lot of positivity. Whereas I think from a competition, that's where you might get more of if you're more of a person that needs the more, I don't want to say negative comments, but if you need more of, okay, I'm here, where do I go from here? Then you might get that more from your judges, because although judges aren't supposed to be judgy, in fact, there was a new term that they were given rather than being judges because of judges being judgy. But you might get more feedback if that's what you're looking for from a competition. In the end, I really appreciated being invited to be part of the A&S War Team at Pennsic. I enjoyed my experience. I enjoyed getting to sit the entire day and just geek out about something that I'm very passionate about. And I'm happy for my experience with both being part of the A&S War Team as well as my experience participating with the Populist display and also the Craftsperson's Green. And just a side note, if you're ever at Pennsic and you want to join a Craftsperson's Green, you do not have to be a member of the Middle Kingdom to participate in the Mid-Realm Craftsperson's Green. Thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video and would like to watch more of my videos, please follow the links on the side of the page. Please please select thumbs up that you like the video. It helps with the algorithm. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. And please click subscribe and ring the bell to be updated when new videos come out.